Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining our event today. So I'm just going to give one more minute for people to join and then we'll make a start. I'm just going to wait till 2 minutes past and then so people can come in and then we'll make a start. Great, I'm going to make a start. So thank you everyone for joining our event for the 16 Days of Activism for Amnesty International's Voices of Resistance event. My name is Łucja Jastrzębska, a Polish human rights activist and a CC on Central Europe at Amnesty International UK. And tonight's panel brings together extraordinary voices who represent courage, resistance, and the transformative power of art and activism. We are really honoured and I can't wait to hear from all of our panelists. Firstly, we'll hear from Olga Borisova. Olga is a member of Pussy Riot, a Russian feminist protest and performance art group formerly based in Moscow that became popular for its provocative punk rock music. The group staged unauthorized provocative guerrilla gigs in public spaces, and these performances were filmed as music videos and posted on the internet. This group's lyrical themes include feminism, LGBT rights, opposition to Russian President Vladimir Putin and his policies, and Putin's links to the leadership of the Russian Orthodox Church. We will then hear from Homira May, who is a Hazara rights activist, scientist, experienced researcher working in the business and pharmaceutical industries, as well as a prominent human rights defender from Afghanistan. In 2025, she received logistical support through the Window for Women Human Rights Defenders to participate in a series of interactive dialogues and advocacy meetings in Afghanistan during the 58th and 59th session of the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. Then we will hear from Nikolina Sindaric, I hope I said that right, who is one of the founders of an activist group that is mainly made up of students and a student for the Faculty of Political Sciences in Belgrade, a Department of Journalism and Communications, working within marketing, PR, and photography, where she photographs partisan marches. Nikolina was a victim and target of physical, digital, and media violence in Serbia by the regime and regime media, as well as by the police. And finally, we'll hear from me on Poland and abortion rights and the lived reality behind headlines and policies, not as a distant observer, but as someone whose life, identity and activism has been shaped by these issues. So thanks again, everyone, for joining, and I'll hand over to Olga.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, everybody, to join. My name is Olga, and I'm a Pussy Riot activist and performer. And in these 10 or a bit less minutes, I'll try to tell you what is going on in Russia currently. At least I will try. And let me share my screen. Second. Can you hear it? Can you see it? Can you hear me? Okay, sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Okay, so Russia, human rights in a country that has chosen a war. Obviously, since the full-scale invasion in Ukraine in 2022, political climate has changed drastically. We've had a high level of repression before, but since the beginning of the big war, it increased double, triple, you name it. The new laws been introduced, as well as military censorship. So now anyone who's disagree with the war and with the government is a potential criminal. New laws been introduced to repress those people. So, for example, those 3 criminal articles fake news about army, which is basically sharing any information that is not approved by the Ministry of Defense. So, for example, the massacre in Bucha in Ukraine, or any other war crime in Ukraine committed by Russian army, and you just sharing information or just sharing a link to, I don't know, Washington Post article about it, it's considered a fake. So you can be charged under the article about fake news about army. And you can get up to 15 years, starting from 5. So in my case, I've been trialed under this criminal article. I just got my sentence in absentia. I've got 8 years for anti-war song, because it considered that in this anti-war song we spread fakes about Russian army, and because basically it's 5 of us, so we're a group motivated by political hatred. So we've got I've got 8 years in prison. So if I will turn up in Russia, if I will buy a ticket home, I will be immediately arrested at the airport and put in prison for 8 years. As well as my colleagues, friends that also got their sentencing together with me. So the other one is discreditation of, sorry, I didn't finish that. Discreditation of Russian army. Don't know why they needed another one. Fake news about Russian army and discreditation of Russian army. But basically, if you say you hate Russian army, you disagree with Russian army, that could be discreditation of Russian army, and your sentence will be up to 5 years. Also, calling for sanctions is illegal now. Sentence is up to 3 years. Basically any advocacy around Russia abroad would be considered calling for sanctions. I did that, wasn't charged with that, but you never know. So that's also all these new laws that supposed to scare you, and self-censoring yourself, and in general the phenomena of self-censorship been introduced in Russia, because now people being it's not only loud activists or big names or something that went viral, became popular, famous, or like wildly spread. No, it can be anyone. It could be you just left some comment in some chat. You can be also repressed for that. I wanted to speak about 3 cases in particular, because I believe they deserve extra attention. And we'll start with the... Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you that we have 1,600 political prisoners in Russia at the moment, and it's only those who are in prison right now in Russia for peaceful protest or a comment or opinion, because we also get a lot of new political cases with terrorism, and basically terrorism when people try to resist. So like Amnesty International wouldn't consider them political prisoners, because some of them would set up on fire conscription offices or railways where the trains with military ammunition would supposed to go, and that would be an act of trying to weaken Russian army, which would be also definitely political case in my view, but they're not in those stats. So let's start with Alexei Gorinov. He's 64 years old now. He was part of the council, his local council in Moscow. They had a committee when they were deciding what to do about some children's celebration. And he just said that I think it's cruel of us to think about children's celebrations while we're having a war with Ukraine, and Russian army is killing children every day in Ukraine. So basically, back then, now it's a bit different, but back then you were not allowed to call a war because it's a special military operation. So he first got a sentence of 7 years, and he was attacked many times by prison guards in prison, and they treat him terribly, and he's constantly in punishment cells in terrible conditions. Also, he developed a disease, and he has heart problems. And 2 years later, since his conviction, he was charged with another article, which is justification of Nazism. And he got 3 years, but as a result, it wasn't 7 plus 3, 10, it was 5 years. They changed his sentence to 5 years in worst possible conditions type of prison. Nadezhda Buyanova, she's 68 years old. She was, I guess, a pediatrician who just made a comment in private conversation with one of her patients. She's a widow. This patient was a widow of a Russian soldier, and she just said that, you know, your husband is not a hero and Russia is aggressor. And this woman went to police, and Nadezhda Buyanova, at 67 back then years old, got 5.5 years in prison for this. And I wanted to speak about Artyom Kamardin. He's 35, and he and other guys, his friends, were part of the movement that were Mayakovsky Chtenia, which is Mayakovsky's readings. It's just a group that would gather in central Moscow and read different type of poetry. Artyom wrote a poem about Russian soldier, and got 7 years for this. During his search in his apartment, he was raped by cops, and his girlfriend was in a other room, and she heard him screaming. And at the same time, while this was happening in another room, they hold her, and because they had anti-war stickers, they would put all these stickers on her face. It's a terrible case, and they're still very traumatized by what happened. And obviously, Russian prison is no different than Soviet prison, and the kind of rules inside are still the same. And the fact that he was raped by a man definitely affects his position in prison. Yeah, so I just wanted to tell you about these 3 people that I think really deserve our attention, because their names are not big, they don't have platform. Yeah, just wanted to speak about them. Women's rights. So we are the only country in Europe that don't have a law that would protect women from domestic violence. There are no restraining orders, nothing like that. We don't have it. So decriminalization of domestic violence, or what I've learned today, the word battery, I didn't know that, but basically it's if my husband beat me and I have a bruise, it's not a crime anymore. But if a random person in the street beat me and I have a bruise, that's still a crime. And the criminalization of domestic violence happened in 2017. Actually, the law was proposed by a woman who's a huge fan of traditional values, and she thinks that police should work more on keeping a family together, and that government should not interfere into people's relationship, even if a man beats women and children. because of that happened, because the criminalization of domestic violence happened, and battery is not a crime anymore. Obviously, a lot of cases of battery are not crimes anymore, so they're not part of the stats. We don't have any government support. We don't have shelters, and independent initiatives like Насилию.нет, which is violence that no, or to violence I know, recently got shut down because the face of this independent organization, Anna Rivina, appeared on the Times magazine. So she got too popular promoting how everything is bad in Russia. I'm just telling the logic of the people who made the decision. Yeah. So, and as a result, I think it's important to tell you the story of Margarita Grachova, which is actually a very known case in the West as well. A lot of media talked about her. So this is Margarita Grachova with her husband, that one day she decided to leave. He said, no, you're not allowed to leave. He threatened her. She went to police. She mentioned that she's afraid that her husband might harm her in any way. And police just said, nah, gonna be fine. You're fine. You don't have any proofs. So her husband took her to the forest and cut her hands. This is what happened to her. Because this case became such a known case in the West and in Russia, she became a face of a campaign for this law to support and help and protect women from the violence. He got his sentence of 14 years in prison, which is very rare. You can kill a person, get less than I got 8 years for a song. But I think it's good to say that she remarried. She's very happy. She got another child, and she's very, very happy person now. Obviously, it's absolutely terrible what happened to her, but she's an activist, and I think the fact that she decided to go public about it and give herself another chance for a happy life inspired many, many women and helped many women to maybe leave their abusers, husbands, relationships, etc. Also, abortion rights. So if abortion is nominally legal in Russia and been legal since the crash of Soviet Union, already with the new this war and new war time, we obviously have a lot of propaganda about giving birth, and abortion to make an abortion is not that easy anymore. Around 30 regions in Russia stated to be problematic or impossible to make an abortion in. And sometimes it's a decision of the governor of the region. Sometimes it's some sort of, maybe not a law, but recommendation to private clinics to tell women that, no, sorry, we cannot proceed with that procedure. Also, I wanted to add about war and soldiers coming home back to their families. That also affects women and their well-being. All these men coming home with severe PTSD, once they've tried this violence and moved to basically this regime of the war when it's black and white and killing is not a crime, violence is not a crime, but a method and actually a goal. They're coming back home and beat their wives, children, and actually killing neighbors, families, and family members. So that's also affect women and children, and we don't have any programs for those families, those men. It's another problem that nobody pays attention to. LGBTQ plus rights. The picture here is actually the picture from Pussy Riot Action, and there was Vladimir Putin's birthday, and they decided to put rainbow flags in all key government buildings. This is Ministry of Culture, and also they did that on FSB, police stations, etc. So, gay propaganda law, as a civil offense, that you're not allowed to do gay propaganda among children, been introduced in 2013. And but the one problem is nobody knows what gay propaganda is. It's not explained in any of the documents, and people been since a civil offense back then and not a criminal offense, people got fines, a lot of fines, just to carry a rainbow flag at the demonstration, for example. In 2023, just 2 years ago, is basically a now complete ban on LGBTQ, actually just being queer. And now they designated LGBTQ plus movement as an extremist movement, although it has no leader, no like members. It's not an organization, obviously, but now, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Can I stop for a second?
Sure. Let's move on to Homira because I'm conscious of time. So I'll pass it over to Homira now.
Thank you so much, Lucia, and Olga is now here, and I want to express my thanks there, and also I'll send her a message for that incredible. She's back, Olga. Would you like to? I'm not sure if you heard, but I'll perhaps give my remarks, and then we can come back to you.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Great. Yes, thank you so much for that. Yes, it's really heartbreaking to see the gross human rights violations happening across the world. So good evening, everyone. And again, thank you to Lucia and also to Amnesty International UK Europe team for giving space to stories that are often pushed into darkness. So as was introduced, my name is May. I'm a Hazara woman from Afghanistan. And whenever I say that publicly, my identity, there's always a moment that pause where my identity becomes a political before even I begin to speak. And for many people, being a Hazara is a footnote in Afghanistan's history. For us, it is a life lived under the weight of memory, displacement, and survival. And this evening, I want to speak not only about Afghanistan, not only about the Taliban's violence, but also being about a Hazara woman, a community of women who have learned to live with both grief and extraordinary resilience. So this is not a speech or policy speech. This is not an academic lecture. This is a story, our story, carried through generation. So I grew up in Afghanistan during the first Taliban regime. For those who don't know, Taliban have taken over Afghanistan again. And, you know, I grew up hearing stories whispered in the kitchen, in the prayer rooms, stories told quietly because they carried too much pain to be spoken out loud. I remember the first time I understood being a Hazara meant you were not seen as a fully human by those who held power. My grandmother once told me that we survive by remembering and the world forgets by looking away. And as a child, I didn't truly understand the weight of those words. And as adult, when watching the Taliban return to Afghanistan in 2021, I understood them so painfully. And because when the Taliban entered Kabul, so many people saw the fall of a government. The Hazara woman saw the return of a regime that had once massacred our fathers, our brothers, and our children. A regime that had left our village burning and our mass graves unmarked, as they had this severe and extreme campaign to clean what they call clean Afghanistan of the Hazara women, of the Hazara people together. Today, Afghanistan is often spoken of its statistics. You know, we hear things like millions of girls banned from education, women barred from public life, ethnic groups under threat. But behind every statistic is a living, breathing woman. A girl whose dreams have been interrupted mid-sentence, a mother trying to explain to her daughter why the world has abandoned her. When the Taliban banned girls from secondary school, Hazara mothers told their daughters, education is your armor. You cannot take it off, even when they forbid you to wear it. They turned their homes into secret classrooms. They turned their kitchen into lecture halls. They turned the learning itself into an act of rebellion. And I think that is the noise of resistance inside every Hazara home that I see. The scratch of pencils, the whisper of reading, and the quiet determination of women who refuses to disappear. I currently am the CEO of an organization called the Education Bridge for Afghanistan, where we offer accredited education, online accredited education to girls, and we have around 35,000 people, girls, majority 97% of girls, who have signed up to learn, and they're all learning, and they're attending and going, gathering together in secret in underground schools. To be a woman in Afghanistan today is to live inside a system the world hesitates to name gender apartheid. But to be a Hazara woman is to carry a double danger: gender oppression, overlaid with ethnic persecution that has lasted more than a century. So for Hazara girls has been bombed in their classrooms, you know, shot in the school buses, killed in exam halls, targeted in maternity wards while giving birth. So when the world asks why do Hazara girls risk everything for education, the answer is incredibly simple: because education is the only form of freedom that could not be stolen from us until now. Every Hazara woman carries two truths within her: I'm not safe, but I must still try to live, to learn, to resist, because my existence itself is a form of defiance. And I want to share a story of a group of girls in a very far rural area. And there's a lack of internet in majority of the Hazara populated area. So what we have is this one girl with one smartphone who travels 30 to 40 minutes up in a little mountain to get access to internet. She then downloads all of the reading materials, the examination papers for 4 or 5 other girls, comes back to the village, another 30, 40-minute walk. And they read and they answer the questions. And then that one girl then travels back another 30, 40 minutes, uploads the materials into the platform, into their, the school's system. Then she then comes and travels another 30, 40 minutes back. This sort of resilience that we see in Afghanistan, especially among Hazara women, it's something that inspires me every day, that to continue to help women and to speak up for the people inside of Afghanistan. And I want to tell you another story of another girl who was a survivor of an attack that we saw in September 2022 in a place called Kaj Education Center, where we saw the death of 54 girls who were preparing for the exam, for the university entrance exams. And one of the survivors told me that I remember saying that I sat at my desk thinking about my future. And when the explosion happened, my future landed on the floor next to me. And losing 54 girls in just one attack, most of them were between 14 and 18 years old. And one mother said that as she was, burying her daughter, she said she studied every night by candlelight because there's a lack of electricity in Afghanistan. She wanted to become a doctor. And she said, I wrapped her in her exam notes before I lowered her into the ground. And that is the reality for Hazara women. Graves filled with girls, sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional, who wanted to heal the world. Mothers whose arms feel so empty because the world was too silent. And yet, that is so important that the Hazara woman continues to resist in ways the world barely recognizes. Resistance looks in so many different pictures and in so many different ways. It can be a girl opening a book in a room where education is banned, a mother teaching her daughter to read from a smuggled textbook, a volunteer running an online school for tens of thousands of girls across the country, women documenting every killing, every disappearances, every forced eviction, and a generation that is refusing to let their identity be erased by a nation's memory. Hazara women are not asking for pity. They're demanding recognition not as victims, but as an architects of a future that they are yet allowed to live in. And so for across the last 150 years, the Hazara people have faced massacres, forced displacements, slavery, targeted killings, destruction of cultural sites, systematic erasure from national life. And today we see the same patterns. We see the bombs in schools, in mosques, sports halls, maternity wards, land seizures, forced displacements where Hazara people are systematically being forced from their ancestral lands and being displaced and are living in the mountains. And we see many deaths, lack of access to basic healthcare, pregnant women dying, pregnant women losing their babies across Afghanistan. It's a climate of terror designed to push Hazara out of the country and into silence. And unfortunately, this is not a random violence. This is a pattern, and this pattern has a name in which we call genocide, which unfortunately the international community have yet to recognize. And so Hazara women carry a grief that is personal, historical, and inherited. A grief that passes from mother to a daughter like a survival manual. You will keep your head down, learn everything you can, never forget who you are. And so every time that we speak in any international forums, we carry the weight of thousands of silent voices, girls who cannot speak because they are no longer with us. And I stand here tonight, and I'm here tonight carrying all of them with me. But this is also a story of courage. I think in every tragedy, there is a spark that Taliban cannot extinguish. And that is the woman's courage that we see in Afghanistan, in particular Hazara women. And courage not necessarily always loud. Sometimes it's incredibly quiet. A courage can be, a woman going to protest, knowing they never return. I was in Afghanistan in 2016, and I was there for a research. And there was this huge social movement in Afghanistan, probably one of the largest protests in the history of the country, and where there was a suicide attack in one of the protests, and they killed over 120 people, if I'm not mistaken. And they sent some of the victims who were injured to other neighboring countries like India, for example. And every time there would be an injured person who then lost their life in Pakistan or in India, there would be a large group of people that would go to the airport to receive the dead body. And I went to one of these, and I asked this girl, and I said, well, you know that this protest, even going to receive the dead bodies, there will be another attack. You could potentially be killed. And she said, when you feel the discrimination, when you experience discrimination, when you know that you may not return back, when you've lost your brother, when you've lost your friends, when you've lost your siblings, you say goodbye to your family when you get out, when you protest, when you go and when you ask for change. And you understand that you may never come back, but you do it anyway. And that sort of courage that we see, not just in Afghanistan, I think, and, for example, Olga told those stories. And a lot of the times it is seen in women protesting, protecting the community, and leading and spearheading change for their country and making things right. That's a lot of times being caused by a very small percentage of elite men who want nothing but power and violence. And a form of courage that we see is a teacher risking arrest to run a secret school. We have many underground schools in Afghanistan that they have two doors. They've created 2 doors, one entrance, one sort of escape doors. And they know when the Taliban are coming to check if there are any women or girls in their school, they basically send the girls underground and the Taliban can come and check. It can be a girl logging into an online class through a weak signal, as I said the story. A courage can be a community that continues to build, to educate, document, and push forward, even when the world looks away. Hazara women are courage defying. The courage needs witness, and I hope the stories for tonight that you've become those witnesses. And I will end here, and I want to sort of close with some recommendations that I have for people who may have some information, or maybe the international community. I think for the women of Afghanistan, the country that is recognized as the world's place for women in the world, as a country where there's a gender apartheid, where women are systematically pushed away as a subhuman, we need more than sympathy. We need action that disrupts the machinery of persecution. First, we need to recognize gender apartheid as an international crime that will not only hold accountability or bring accountability to Afghanistan, but in the future, anywhere where there's gender persecution. We need to recognize the Hazara genocide historically and in the present, because unrecognized genocides repeat themselves, and we've seen that across the world. We need to protect Hazara women through asylum pathways, targeted protection, community resettlement, and those of us who are here, there are social medias engaging with your parliaments, representatives, to just let them know that you know what is happening in Afghanistan and you're seeking accountability and protection for those people inside the country. We need to support the educational lifelines, whether it's online schools, digital access, community-led education efforts saving lives. And if there are any ways that we can contribute to educating women inside Afghanistan through volunteering, engaging with different platforms and organizations, providing education, it's a lifeline for a lot of people inside the country. We also need to support documentation and accountability. In Afghanistan, the culture of impunity has been going on since its existence. By documenting these atrocities, we can truly hold those people accountable. If not this year, if not in the next 2 years, Taliban are not going to remain in Afghanistan for its entirety. We can hold them accountable by collecting data, by documenting this atrocity. And so Afghanistan is not a forgotten crisis. It is an ignored one, and so there is a huge difference. And as I close, I'm closing now, I want to return to my grandmother's words. We survive by remembering, and the world forgets by looking away. So tonight, for this few minutes that I've spoken, and I those who I can see faces, you did not look away. You allowed the names, the stories, the griefs, and the courage of Hazara women into your hearts. And I ask you to carry them with you into your advocacy, into your conversation, into every spaces where justice is demanded. Hazara women are not asking for the world to save them. They're asking for the world to stand with them as they continue to save themselves. Because our story, the story of Hazara women, is not a story of defeat. It's a story of unbroken, unyielding, unstoppable resistance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Homira. And I just want to remind people that you can follow the Stop Hazara Genocide campaign as well that Homira is part of, and you can also write to your MP to make sure this is a prominent issue that is upheld in Parliament as well. Next, I would love to hand over to Nikolina to talk about Serbia.
Oh, it's really hard to speak after these 2 stories, because I was wondering that is a tragic situation in Serbia, but when I hear this, it's really hard to speak. But actually, what I saw in and hear in these stories are that the whole world is in a big problem, because we had big protests and wars in every country in the whole world, and I think that we actually need to win these situations together in every country, because the evil is here. And I want to actually speak about what is happening in Serbia, like occasionally, and about my situation in the protests. So everything started in the Serbia at 1st November last year, when we actually had a tragic collapse of canopy that killed 16 people. And that is actually happening because of the corruption and because of the fault about the government. So after that, we started to go to protesting like every day on the street in the Belgrade, in Novi Sad, and in the other cities in the Serbia. So we have a lot of kidnapped kids, kidnapped young people during the protest, beaten by the groups of the officers, at the same time taken into the basement, the garage, into the basement of institutions, and held without any explanations. So you can go, you can even go to the football matches or to something with the culture events without the group of men in the black clothes with the caps following you around and recording you, intimidating you, and try to actually punish you because you are here. And about my case, it was happened on 14th of August this year. I was kidnapped by a police commander in the basement of the government of Republic of Serbia. And I was actually ground to the ground, and my hands was on the back. And in every moment when you try actually to look something, to see the faces of that police officers, I was in the basement with 6 young people, with 40 inspectors in that room. And after that tragedy, the commander of the police threatened me with a rape, and tried to be even aggressive, to threat like, I will fuck you in front of everyone, and you will see what is the violence in the street. We will be more violence than ever. And after that, on August, actually he found my camera in my bag, and he was blinked like a red light, because he was actually turned off the battery, and he actually think that I was that I'm a journalist, and that's the reason that you can see the real face of government in Serbia, because when they think that you are a journalist, you are like a murderer for them, because they hate everyone who wants to actually show to the world what is happening to the Serbia. And a few days later, on August 26, I filed a criminal complaint against that man. His name and surname is Marko Kričak, and he's a member of special unit of the police. He protects actually some special people and the objects in Serbia. And after that, I actually followed every step, because I had bruises all over my face and all over my legs. And I have a medical reports, and the members' psychology assessments, witness, detailed statements, physical devices, everything. And actually, he broke my phone and my camera, and I actually never see my camera after that. When I actually filed the criminal complaint, the people from these institutions are actually shut up 4 months ago after that. And that's actually a really hard experience, because it shows what happened exactly in Serbia about repression. instead of protecting the victim, the system protected the man that I report for the threat of the rape and for the violence. And after that, immediately he actually filed a lawsuit against me. So it's really funny, because when you are a victim in Serbia, you can actually be there in every TV show by the government, in every portals, in every newspapers by a criminal, not a victim. And I was a victim of the criminal regime of the government of Serbia. And actually they showed in the live TV stream my intimated photos, naked photos, when I was a minor. And that was counting 3 hours in the live program. And they actually chatting and had a conversation about my body like part of the meat. And I actually do a criminal complaint against every portal in Serbia who do that, and it's still nothing. But when he did a criminal complaint, the court is actually answered for a few days. And that's actually really sad, because when you are a victim, everyone is silent from institutions. But when some criminals do that things, everything's doing great. So my case is practically ignored by the institutions, and we don't have investigation. So after that, a few days ago, he actually do one more thing, and he started a new criminal complaint against me. And every person from the court is actually on his side in Serbia. But it's not the only case in Serbia, because after the collapse in the rail station in Novi Sad, we had like intervention of police members like every day, and they actually kidnapped a minor, very young people in the garage all over the Serbia. And we have a lot of people in the prison now. So if you choose to be brave, to go to the media and go to the protest to fight for your freedom, you will be actually in the prison, or you will be discredited in the regime media. So after that, they actually try to be against me more than ever, because he prepared a criminal complaint against me, and he tried to use money from me, because he said that I am a liar, that I never been in the basement of the Republic of Serbia. And after that words, I tried to get the videos from the cameras from that basement, and the president of Serbia and ministries said that they don't have the videos. After that, they told a few days ago that they have the videos, then they need to prepare the videos. So they need to change the whole picture of that night, because I am not the only girl who are in that basement. Actually, I was only girl, but that night they kidnapped so many people in that basement, and that's not a first night that the police officers do the brutality things against the demonstrant. But that's the first time in history that they kidnapped people in the basement of the government of Republic of Serbia. but we have one special things that 2003 they actually killed our primary in that street, in that in front of that basement. And after 22 years we don't have any videos and improvements, so I'm a little bit scared about that, because if they don't have a videos about that man who are in some high positions in the country, I don't have some hopes to believe that I will be the first one. And I think that we have like a pretty similar situation like a Russia, and that our president want to be a little Putin in these situations. They try that, but I think that it's not good to compare the repressions, because when I hear this things from Olga, I actually decide to believe more than people try to explain us in Serbia, because I never heard these things before Olga's words. And I think that's the most important thing, that in every country in the world you can't hear anything from that country, only expect these meetings that you actually invited us to speak about situations in our country. And I think that we don't have respect from institutions like a woman and from medias, because they are silent about everything that happened in the world. And I think that in Serbia we are actually we are not country who respect our women in the street and in their own homes, because as much as in Russia, Olga said everything, it's a similar situation in Serbia. So we are actually a similar country with regime. We have the dictators in our countries that they are here like many years, and we always have like the same people in politics in government. So I think that this will be a very hard fight, and I think that we need a lot of time to actually get that freedom.
Thank you so much for giving us that whole context. And I also want to thank all of our three speakers so far for giving us such raw and vulnerable contributions to everything, and speaking more about, as we mentioned, the horrendous things that are happening, but also giving the power and the knowledge in order for everyone to do something about it. We're going to run over a bit, so I hope everyone can stay around 10 minutes over, but I'll move on to me about Poland. So today I'm going to speak as someone whose Polish identity is tied above both love and grief. Love for the creativity and humour and the resilience of Polish people, and grief for how our rights have been attacked over the last 5 years, and especially women and LGBTQIA communities in Poland. And in order to understand the current political landscape, we really need to look beyond the laws and the policy and more at the culture, specifically the figure of Matka Polka, which is Polish mother, which I've done quite a lot of research on myself, and obviously being a Pole. But for generations, Matka Polka has been seen as more than a symbol in Poland, but also she's seen as an emotional backbone of national identity, especially during uprisings and occupations from Nazi Germany to the communist eras. She represents a self-sacrificing woman of immense moral strength, a woman who endures, protects, nurtures, and carries the nation on her back. This image has been sustained through art and literature and everyday expectations within families for centuries in Poland. And in my own research, when I spoke to my family and a lot of different individuals in Poland, I realized how deeply rooted the ideal remains within society. My grandma herself sees Matka Polka as a noble woman, a figure of pride, righteousness, and resilience. But my mum and myself saw it very differently, as a pressure and something that quietly demands perfection, as being the perfect mother, the perfect wife, the perfect homemaker, and a woman who works full-time on top of that, cares for her children, cooks, cleans, supports her husband, and has a full-time job without complaint. So these expectations don't only come from the state, they come from Polish society, from civic culture, from the church, from the communities, and from generations of women who were taught that sacrifice is the measure of their worth. And Matka Polka is a bottom-up symbol that has shaped the political sphere, not as the other way around. And while first generation survivors of the Holocaust and communism often saw her as empowering, younger women nowadays increasingly feel the weight of her demands. One of my interviewees told me that a divorced woman could not be a Matka Polka because she had failed to protect the family. Another insisted that only mothers deserve the title at all, and that childless women or women who choose not to marry simply did not qualify. And my mother and myself disagreed, and maybe because living in the UK for quite a long time, our political worldviews have shifted. But to me, Matka Polka could belong to any woman, but that itself shows that the rift between generations. So one woman views it as honor and the other experiences as social pressure and even trauma. And the consequences of these symbols isn't abstract, they are really political. They shaped policy, especially around reproductive rights. And this is my own research that I've come to a conclusion of. Poland's near total abortion ban did not emerge in a vacuum. It grew out of this cultural narrative that glorifies motherhood, especially motherhood defined by sacrifice, motherhood as a duty, as a national service, and as an identity. And this is why even as Polish women work, study, and build careers, they feel judged if they don't uphold every element of Matka Polka's ideal. So women who struggle, who choose differently, who seek abortions, who can't or don't want to have children are implicitly or explicitly seen as failures or selfish, as a threat to tradition. So this revival of motherhood in Poland isn't simply about encouraging families, it's about controlling narratives of womanhood from the government. When womanhood becomes both a moral expectation and a political project, when women lose autonomy and the state steps into the space where personal choice should be. But when women are now redefining Matka Polka, it means that a lot of them are saying that we want to be mothers when we choose, not because we must. We must work, we can work, rest, love, create, or protest, but we do not exist for the nation. We exist for ourselves. So I want to move on to the current state of abortion rights in Poland, which is a massive human rights crisis in Poland at the moment. So at the moment, Poland has one of the most restrictive abortion regimes in Europe, and I'll briefly outline them through reporting of Amnesty International as well. So in 2021, the politically compromised Constitutional Tribunal removed access to abortion on the grounds of severe fetal abnormality, and this was the basis of 90% of legal abortions previously held, which was now removed. And today, abortion is legal only in cases of rape, incest, or when a woman's life is at health or at risk. But even then, a lot of the times, the abortions are being denied because doctors are afraid to perform abortions. And behind hospital bureaucracy, lives are being put at risk, and several women have died due to this, because what is being criminalized in Poland is helping carry out an abortion, not the actual abortion act itself. And when Donald Tusk came into power, he promised the legalization within 100 days of office. It has been now over a year later, and this remains unfulfilled. No bill was proposed, political was completely evaporated, and the structural barriers remained entrenched. He said this was because the president would have vetoed it anyway, but he didn't even try. So despite these polls having the biggest female turnout throughout Polish voting history as well, nothing was done to help. And in August 2024, the government issued new guidelines proposing a paper that mental health risks should be treated seriously when accessing abortion eligibility. But the law didn't change, and women are still being denied access to abortions. And just this year in 2025, a Polish doctor who performed a lawful state abortion term to a pregnant woman whose fetus had a fatal condition is now under investigation, facing potential imprisonment, while the state ignores the systematic failures that endangered patients' lives. Grassroots organisations and activists have also stepped in to fill the gap. But in 2025, the first abortion support centre in Warsaw was opened by activists determined to provide safe guidance, abortion pills, and support people who are unable to access legal care. But at the same time, they're putting themselves at risk. And the one most prominent case was the case of Justyna Wydrzyńska, who helped a pregnant woman who was in a really abusive relationship get abortion pills. And the fact that she helped to get abortion pills for this woman, she is now facing criminal charges for helping with the act of abortion themselves. The woman who had the abortion is not facing any criminal charges, only the fact of helping. So in practice, the result is that abortion remains inaccessible for many, especially those without resources, because gynecologists can't perform, doctors can't perform, no one can help you access abortion pills. So it really leaves women to really dangerous conditions of seeking out abortions for themselves or traveling abroad. But this is obviously very due to financial privileges. A lot of people aren't able to do that. So it forces them to rely on underground networks or self-managed abortions. But this is not about just politics, it's about human rights, and this is about healthcare and about dignity. And access to abortion should be one of those where people control their own bodies. So just to close, I wanted to say what we should demand from the Polish government is full decriminalisation of abortion and removal of penalties for anyone assisting, legal access to abortion on request, or at least on broad mental health and socioeconomic grounds, protection for healthcare workers, an end to criminal investigations into doctors that save patients' lives, and investment into accessible reproductive health care and comprehensive sexuality education, which is also very restricted in Poland. There's obviously a lot of other issues, but we can go into that at another time. But human rights should never depend on political convenience or political narratives. And I know we're a bit over, but I would like to open the floor to questions. So you can use the Q&A function, and we'll stay on for another 10 minutes if everyone's happy to do that. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A chat for any of our speakers or more generally.
Łucja, there is one in there now. Can you see it?
I can see it, yes, I can. Olga, you were absolutely incredible, from campaigning for Pussy Riot's release whilst in school to going to as many of our breathtaking performances as possible. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You, your colleagues, and your actions now show courage and bravery, a true inspiration. My question to you is, what is your advice for the best direct support we can provide to prisoners of conscience when we are outside of Russia?
Well, I think, thank you so much, first of all. I'm really touched. I think there are different ways to help to political prisoners. So basically, you can always write a letter. Actually, I don't know, Amnesty did several events, many events of that was dedicated to Russian political prisoners. I don't know, actually, I don't know about now, but definitely Amnesty has a lot of information about political prisoners in Russia. Also, you can, if you know, it is. Russia is interesting because we have a special service to write letters to Cheney prisoners online, but the thing is that they don't accept they accept letters only in Russian. But if there is a desire, I can definitely help with that and provide you like maybe some link or something. Also, if you're interested on topic, there is a media called Media Zona that is available in English, Media Zona. Yeah, and they have an amazing project of counting how many Russian soldiers died in the war. That's also incredible work of theirs, because no one is actually do that. It's secret information, and that's it's very hard to get information from Russia and from families. Yeah, but you can like text me, and I think I just don't want to keep everyone's in queue or waiting. Don't want to waste time. So you can text me if you want to do something in particular. So maybe on Instagram, it's Olga Borisova, like maybe here as well. If it says Olga Borisova near my screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think you can find on Instagram, for example. Yeah. Thank you.
I will also share links to the post event things, so watch out for a link for that as well. Does anyone else have other questions? If not, I'm going to quickly ask Homira. The Prevention of Genocide Day on the 9th is coming up. Are there any actions that you are planning on doing, or what can people do specifically to on that day as well to stand with Afghanistan?
There's going to be a sort of a more effort on social media with the hashtag Stop Hazara Genocide to raise more awareness and to encourage people to engage with their MPs, with their representatives, and to submit questions to your MPs and ask them about what they plan to do, what the government plans to do about the ongoing Hazara genocide in Afghanistan. There also there's an organization, a think tank called New Lines Institute. They've done a legal analysis on the Hazara genocide, so we'll be sort of circulating those around social media with different links from different group of us, different accounts. So yeah, just watch out, and if you follow the hashtag Stop Hazara Genocide on social media, you'll be receiving a lot of tweets, a lot of information.
Perfect, thank you. And I also I'm gonna plug myself. I interviewed both Olga and Homira on my new podcast, so I will send links to that if you want to find more in-depth information about both of their lives and campaigning in hour-long episodes each. And finally, I just want to ask Nikolina, what can people do to help your situation in Serbia as well?
Actually, it's a hard question because I was a guest in a lot of cities, meetings, panels, and podcasts, and speaks about everything in what happening in Serbia. I was a few weeks ago at Bilbao in Spain to speak about the repression in Serbia, and there was actually a long discussion about that. I was speaking with some ambassadors, politicians, journalists from all over the world. And I think that the most important thing to help us is just to listen our stories and to actually meet a lot of young people from Serbia and to hear the actually truth from the Serbian students and what we are actually doing here. And actually, I hope that we will be free next year because it's the end of mandate of the president of Serbia next year, the end of the next year, and I hope that we had fair and freedom elections in Serbia so that we can change the things because sadly, but it's true that in the street you can change the whole government and the country, and the elections are the best way to be unique and to be united on that elections. And I hope so that we will be united on that elections, like the students, activists, politicians from the opposition's parties. But it's hard because we had a lot of bad things between politicians and students because we don't have, as students, we don't have a hope to any politicians in the world now, I think, but in Serbia too. So I think that every country, especially in European Union, can help us to come here and to speak with young people, with young politicians, with young students. And we had a lot of politicians from Europe who came here in Serbia to get involved in this case. And I think that's the only way to help us, and of course with resolutions in European Union, as we see in Parliament that in European Union they speak a lot about Serbia now. So I hope so that we will win these hard situations in the world together. So I'm very grateful to hear the other brave women from the other countries, because it's a little bit easier when you hear that you are not alone. So I think that's most important message from whole world.
Thank you, and thank you again to all of our speakers. And I will, as I said, I will send out links to specific different informations and actions that you can take as well. So as I close, as we finish the 16 Days of Activism event, I want to end with this. So rights are not self-excluding. They are not permanent, but they do not expand unless we push for them. So obviously, through being Polish, Poland has taught me that silence is very costly. The UK has taught me that rights can be very fragile. Afghanistan, Russia, and Serbia and so many other countries remind us that activism is so dangerous, but it's so necessary. But every conversation, every act of solidarity builds a world where freedom becomes less fragile. So thank you to everyone for being here and for listening and for coming to work ahead together in all of these different issues that we campaign for. So I hope you will have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Łucja.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody. I just wanted to quickly say that Nikolina and Homira, and Łucja, you're very inspiring. And I never heard Nikolina before, because with Homira we've seen each other, and every time she speaks, I'm like, oh my God, we need to do something. Because it is true that it's impossible to speak about after Homira speaks, because I'm like, oh, it's hard, because it's if there is a hell on earth for women, it's Afghanistan. And I'm actually so outraged how it's not mainstream cause, and I think we all should be get busy ourselves with working on that. It was very interesting for me to hear about Serbia, and I just wanted to tell you, Nikolina, that you said about elections, but I've also seen all those protests and mass protests in Serbia, and I think you don't need to wait for politicians from the European Union coming and speaking to your young audiences and the young people, because you have it in you, yeah, I think you got this. And yeah, if you need any support or I think we can all rely on each other of support and information sharing and stuff. Yeah, and thank you, Lucy, for organizing it.
No, of course.
So much.
And there'll be many more to come in the new year as well. So keep an eye out.
Yeah.
But thank you again, everyone. And yeah, hope you have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.